I wanted to have a conversation just with chiropractors today because we've got this big seminar coming up, and I've just been messaging with some girlfriends and we're so excited to get together, the connection and the inspiration, all of the learning that we'll have, and honestly the party, that wild dance floor, and no doubt a few too many espresso martinis that might be drunk along the way. But in amongst all of that excitement, it got me thinking about the darker side that can show up at these conferences that I don't think gets spoken about nearly enough. Because it is such a beautiful thing, when we come together, that shared consciousness and humanity, it's so wonderful to be a part of. But then we go on our breaks and we have a chance to catch up with people that we used to go to uni with and colleagues, and quite honestly, there can be a ton of toxic energy in that space. There's so much ego and comparison and judgment. I've been caught in so many conversations where someone is, puffing themselves up and bragging about the amount of people they're seeing, how little time they're spending with them, all of the miracles they're getting, and they're not sharing it from this beautiful place of wanting to share the pride that they're feeling and their success. It isn't coming from that place. It is coming from ego and needing to puff themselves up to put you down. And it's horrible to be around. The recipient of that energy, it makes you feel shitty, and very often it means that you end up trying to sort of rise to that level. You end up having these superficial conversations. You probably lie about your numbers. I've not met a single chiropractor, I don't think, that hasn't lied about their numbers at some stage. But also what we're missing out on, when we come together with our colleagues, these are the people who you can share your struggles with and your successes with. They're the only people who really know what you're going through on a day-to-day basis. But rather than connecting honestly, we're stuck in this, out of alignment, superficial nonsense. So either you're having those crap conversations, or what I've heard from a ton of people is they end up going back to their rooms or hiding in the bathroom just so that they can avoid being around that. And it makes me really sad. And I think it's so important for us to realize that it's not only us that's going through it. So many people feel that, toxic. I can't think of another word for it. That toxic situation, that feeling less than. And if we were just able to be a little bit more honest and real about that stuff, I think we would all benefit so much. And I think the other thing that can happen at seminars is around the speakers from stage. And I used to put a lot of blame on speakers because I would hear them talking about their practice and their life and, all of the stuff that they were doing. And quite often I would feel less than. I would think, I'm not achieving that, and they're more certain than I am and more successful, and they're helping more people, and my inner critic would go nuts with it. But I actually think it's a lot more nuanced than I used to give it credit for, because without a doubt there are people who show up with a lot of ego on stage, that real masculine push, hustle, sort of dick swinging energy that can be there. And, things I've heard, things like, you're not a real chiropractor if you're not seeing more than 500 people a week. It's just so unhelpful. Or I remember being told that if you're spending more than 3 minutes with a client, then you're only doing that for yourself because you need to be liked by your clients, and that's not what you should be doing. And at the time I just thought, oh my God, I spend longer with my clients. I'm a bad person. I'm so needy. And, again, all this just toxic chatter. When in reality, with a bit of space from that just isn't true. My technique takes me a little bit longer. And maybe you just like to connect with people on a different level. If you're being told by someone else how you should practice, it's just bullshit. So that stuff, it would be so delightful if we could just ignore. But I think the other piece to this, which is really important, is so many speakers are there sharing their stories and their successes from this beautiful, open-hearted, wanting to serve, wanting to help place. But if you in the audience are in the habit of putting someone on a pedestal and minimizing yourself, it doesn't matter how someone is showing up on stage, you will still find a reason to feel bad about yourself. And that is definitely what I used to do. And it's the same as, seeing other people's social media and you're comparing your own inner turmoil to their highlight reel. It just doesn't do us any good to do that. But we've got to recognize that when you are sharing on social media or when you are on stage, it's only natural that you're going to be putting your best foot forward. And maybe you're sharing 10 or 20% of the way your life is or your practice is. But it can be easy in the audience to think that is the entire truth of it. And that person never has a bad day and never wakes up tired. It's all just magical all of the time. And we've got to realize that it's just not true. And if you keep telling yourself the story that it is true, then you're actually just keeping yourself down. You're keeping yourself in that prison of not good enough. If you're really honest with yourself, you can tell the difference when someone is sharing from ego versus when they're sharing from their heart to really help you. So if you're being triggered, if you're feeling less than from all the speakers on stage, even those beautiful ones that are showing up, it's just a really lovely just reminder for yourself to see, okay, what am I disowning in myself? What are the gifts in me that I'm not recognizing? Maybe you're expressing them, but you're not noticing that you're doing it. Or maybe you're squishing them so far down inside of you and not letting them come out. It's this great opportunity to really look within and see where you can share more of yourself, more of your truth, more of your heart, so that you can connect in a deeper way to what is true for you. How do you want to practice? What feels great for you? Not what is someone else doing, not how do I copy them, but what feels good for you. And when you can remind yourself of that, get inspiration from stage, but tune into what is right for you, then we can come together and enjoy each other, have real conversations, share our successes, share our struggles. And it's not a toxic soup anymore. It is real, authentic, and joyful.